Hello and welcome to Studio 2 at Electric Airwaves, the UK's leading media training company. I'm Andrew Caesar-Gordon. Rebranding an organisation requires PR to work in a highly integrated manner with other marketing disciplines. This is especially true when the rebrand has an international dimension. Most commentators reckon that Abbey's rebrand to Santander in January seemed to go pretty well. So PRMoment TV invited Andy Smith, Head of Media Relations at Santander, to give us his insight and tips on how the PR function can best manage such a campaign. This was more than a change in corporate identity, wasn't it? I mean, effectively you were overseeing the dismantling of a British brand and its replacement with a Spanish one. How did it go?
By the time the rebrand came around in January 2010, it was old news. So we'd got the sentimentality and all the pieces that examined what the brands were, how they'd got into trouble in cases of Bradford and Bingley, Alliance and Leicester, had all got out of the way, and we had a clean run at the Jan 2010 announcement.
So can you give us an example of a tactical PR activity and how you negotiated with the marketing teams to get your message through?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you go to the 11th of Jan was when we were changing the fascias on the front of the first Santander branch, which is at Tottenham Court Road. So, you know, we had to work hard with marketing to get them to commit to getting Lewis Hamilton for us so that we could have him at the branch. We worked closely with our Spanish colleagues to get Emilio Bottini, who's the chairman, across. He very kindly made some comments about acquiring assets, which obviously worked well for us in terms of creating more news on the day. But it was in terms of having a clear idea of we need to do the first unveiling at 9 AM, I think it was, on the 11th of Jan, and nothing can happen before then. So the TV advertising didn't happen before then. That went live on the Monday evening, and we had to say to marketing, it's better if you go Monday evening rather than Sunday evening.
So who was effectively in charge?
Well, we were spending their money, so you could argue that they were in charge. But I think the easiest way to say is that we had a very clear, I had a very clear idea of what was going to make news right from the very start of this. And we just went into every single meeting with them and saying, well, fine, you can do that, you can do that. But in terms of what's going to create media interest in the rebrand, these are what we need. And they listened to us as professional consultants.
And what issues were there with the parent company in terms of a Spanish media culture and how they viewed your PR activity in a British culture?
Surprisingly little. They were more interested in terms of getting Spanish media across. So it was what will the Spanish media say about this rebrand in Britain, what will the Portuguese media? And I guess an example of how the media cultures are very different, we had 8 film crews at Tottenham Court Road on the 11th of January, which surprised me. I didn't think we'd get that many, but we had BBC, IRA and Sky, fine, but we had 5 film crews from Iberia. So we had 1 Portuguese film crew and 4 Spanish ones, and it's a bit like the BBC going to Spain to film the rebranding of a Spanish bank that RBS had bought.
So were there any issues about having a foreign parent company, and how did they see the work that you were undertaking in the British media environment?
Another interesting thing, I suppose, a cultural thing that was a subtlety was we did have some support from the consumer PR agency throughout the process, and we had a pitch, and we had 5 consumer PR agencies come in, all with an idea of a stunt, normally around a Spanish theme, so flamenco dancers or recreating the Tomato Tina, whatever it was, and they all said we must do it in Trafalgar Square, probably forgetting the sort of slightly sensitivities around the defeat at Trafalgar and the Spanish Armada and that sort of stuff. And we always had to say, actually, probably wouldn't find our chairman happily parading around Trafalgar Square.
And so what lesson did you take away from this, and what advice would you give to PROs who find themselves in a similar situation?
I guess the first thing is never underestimate the size of the story. I'm a healthy cynic, which I think most PR people are. So I kind of thought, well, we're just changing a few signs. It's not going to be that impressive. It's not going to be that big. So don't underestimate the size of the story. There was still that element of public service messaging about the 11th of Jan, which was, you used to walk into that blue branch with a man with a bowler hat on the door. Well, actually, it's now the red branch, and it's still the same organisation with the same people in it. So there was an element of public service about making sure that, little old ladies in Whitby or whatever didn't walk straight past the branch and walked into the branch and understood it to be the same bank as it was before.
Thank you, Andy Smith, Head of Media Relations at Santander. I'm Andrew Caesar-Gordon, Managing Director of Electric Airwaves for PRMoment TV.